All right, guys, welcome into an official final injury report here for the NFL week number 18. We've got multiple teams tanking. There's a lot of players out. And with the games happening tomorrow, I figured I would go over the final injury report. Speaking of teams that are tanking, the Arizona Cardinals, my goodness. You know, I forgot the Arizona Cardinals traded for Robbie Anderson when he was annoyed with Carolina and like he wasn't trying or something. But you can see he's out for this game. DeAndre Hopkins out for this game. Marquise Brown, Hollywood Brown, looks like he's going to play. Colt McCoy out with a concussion for this game. You also have J.J. Watt playing in the final game of his career. And I believe, where is James Conner? I saw James Conner. There's James Conner. He's also out for this game. A linebacker out for this game. Zach Allen, believe he's a rookie pass rusher, out. Isaiah Simmons, the former first-round pick, looks to be ready to go, full in practice on Friday. But the Cardinals, sitting right now at 14.5-point underdogs, are very understandably trying to lose that football game. Next, you have the Atlanta Falcons. They are facing the Tampa Bay Bucks. And guys, you know what? I'll talk about it when I get to the Bucks, but there's something real interesting with Tampa Bay and Tom Brady trying to avoid his first ever losing season. Cordero Patterson looks like they were just giving him a rest because it's late in the season. He should be ready to go. Atlanta is relatively healthy, trying to get Desmond Ridder some more experience there in their final game. We will see. The Baltimore Ravens, looks like J.K. Dobbins getting some rest. He's come back and been phenomenal. He's ready to go. Tyler Huntley, right now, questionable with a wrist injury. There's been thoughts, he's injured. He might play through it. That's why the line in this game is all the way up to Cincinnati -10. Lamar Jackson, once again, rumors are he suffered a setback in his recovery, and it should have been a 3-week injury. But I believe this is his 5th straight game. Lamar Jackson will be missing. Marcus Peters, the defensive back, questionable for this game. But overall, the main story with the Ravens going to Cincinnati, they will be without Lamar Jackson, and their backup Tyler Huntley also dealing with an injury. So they're very banged up. When it comes to the Bills, Josh Allen's fine. Stephon Diggs is fine. All of these guys. Looks like the Bills completely healthy. It's really not that surprising considering they played less than a quarter in the Monday night game. So it looks like they're all ready to go for their game against the New England Patriots, where they are a touchdown favorite. The Carolina Panthers, they've got some guys. Brian Burns, questionable. Foreman, the running back, questionable. We'll see if either of those guys play, but they are relatively healthy going into their season finale in New Orleans. Carolina can improve their draft position more than likely if they lose that game in New Orleans at the Saints. Looking at the Chicago Bears, they're just straight up tanking. Justin Fields is out. I'm sure if this was a situation where the Bears were not tanking, Fields would be playing. They're calling it a hip injury. It's just, I support what the Bears are doing. You've suffered for this long. There's no reason to ruin a potential number 2 overall pick or a number 1 overall pick if Houston wins, and really try and win this game. So Nathan Peterman will be starting. Chicago listed, I believe, as 8.5-point underdogs at home right now against the Minnesota team, who really doesn't need to win this game. It's kind of meaningless for them. That's why the Bears are making sure they lose this game and secure at least the number 2 overall pick in that one. So Justin Fields is out. Looking at Cincinnati, they seem to be completely healthy. You do have Eli Apple questionable for this game. Sam Hubbard looks to be ready to go for their home game against Baltimore. The Browns, you've got the situation with Jadeveon Clowney basically telling the team, listen, I'm not coming back. I'm pissed off. So they sent him home. He's not going to play. Amari Cooper limited in practice. He should be good to go. Still trying to develop that relationship with Deshaun Watson, that chemistry. Myles Garrett ready to go, full in practice. And then you also have Denzel Ward with a shoulder. looks to be questionable. I do wonder if they play him in what essentially is a meaningless game. You do have Jack Conklin, who did sign a contract extension with the Browns earlier this year. He is officially out for that game at Pittsburgh, where the Browns are 3-point underdogs. The Dallas Cowboys, their center is out. They've got Turpin, the punt returner, questionable, and Leighton Van Der Esch out as well. The big story here, Tony Pollard, full participant in practice. He's going to get some level of playing time. It's an interesting dynamic with the Dallas Cowboys, considering they could be in a situation where their game is relatively meaningless early in the second half if the Philadelphia Eagles are up big on the Giants, which a lot of people think they will be. We could see the Dallas Cowboys give Tony Pollard no carries in the second half, Zeke Elliott no carries, Dak Prescott might not play. It's a very interesting dynamic to follow. The Denver Broncos, a lot of guys banged up and injured. Offensive tackle out. Kendall Hilton, we remember when he was the starting quarterback for one game. He is out for this one. Jerry Jeudy looks to be ready to go. That's big for them. There's really no incentive for the Denver Broncos to lose this game, considering they don't own their first-round pick. So I'd imagine they're really going to want to try and win this one for the crowd. It's been such a hard year for the Denver Broncos fan base. We will see. I believe, they should be starting Russell Wilson, considering they don't own their first-round pick and there's no incentive for them to lose. You've got the Detroit Lions. They are at Green Bay. We will see if it's meaningful or not. Jeff Okudah questionable. Their center is questionable. They've got a guard that is out. But overall, this game could turn meaningless for the Detroit Lions if Seattle wins at 425. So we will see. The Green Bay Packers need to win this game, and they're in. Seems like everyone basically on here is ready to go. Christian Watson has that hip injury. He's been limited, but there's no game status designation, so he should be good to go. Aaron Jones limited, just kind of management for an older running back. He should be ready to go. So the Green Bay Packers, I do expect them to win and make the playoffs. They are in a win-and-in scenario. Houston needs to lose 100%. You've got Philip Dorsett out. Other than that, O.J. Howard questionable. We will see. I would imagine they would be starting Davis Mills. But if I was Houston, I would start whoever I had to make sure I guaranteed myself the number one overall pick. If Houston does win this game against Indianapolis, I believe they will only fall to number 2. So it's not the worst thing in the world, but then obviously that creates a bidding war for the number 1 overall pick if Chicago does get it. You're going to have multiple teams trying to trade up into that number 1 spot to draft Bryce Young, CJ Stroud, Will Levis, whoever. And if you're Houston, it's just so much easier to keep that number 1 overall pick. You've already lost so many games. They're coming into this game against Indianapolis as 2.5-point underdogs. You can see Nick Foles is out. For the Colts, Sam Ehlinger will get the start. So we will see what happens in terms of, I know a lot of Indianapolis fans want to lose. I know a lot of Houston fans want to lose. It's an interesting dynamic when it comes to this game. Taking a look at Jacksonville, they're in a very direct situation there. You can see Trevor Lawrence listed as questionable. Obviously, he's going to play. I would imagine pretty much all of these guys are going to play in this game. They're going to try and gut it out. If they've been limited, on Thursday they should all be playing if they're questionable, and it's a must-win game for the AFC South. Jacksonville playing tonight. Kansas City playing this afternoon. The big story here, you have the rookie receiver Sky Moore out, and then Harrison Butker, who I don't even think is going to be back with Kansas City next year. I mean, he just misses way too many extra points. He's actually questionable for this game at Vegas. Other than that, Kansas City is relatively healthy there. Taking a look at Vegas, you've got Davante Adams playing in this game. People ask, why would Davante Adams play? I'm sure Davante Adams cares about his stats, honestly. I mean, I would if I was a veteran receiver and I've had all these years where I've put up multiple 1,000-yard seasons. I mean, if I can go out and get another 100 yards, to end the season, I would do it. So I would imagine he would play. Josh Jacobs, it says he's dealing with a hip and a personal matter, currently listed as questionable. Kind of an interesting situation with Josh Jacobs where he seems to be unhappy in Vegas. You got to wonder Is he going to be back next year? Jarrett Stidham came in limited, but he will be playing, and he will be really motivated to put on a good performance for the Raiders and for whichever NFL team to try and give himself a roster spot next year. Taking a look at the Chargers, Justin Herbert should play. It's important the Chargers win this game in terms of their seeding. Derwin James playing. Is Joey Bosa not on the injury report at all? Because I know they were kind of bringing him back. He got like half the snaps last week. It looks like he's good. The Rams playing in a meaningless game. They don't own their first round pick. Aaron Donald out. There's no reason to play him at his old age. There was questions he was going to retire last year. Looks like Jalen Ramsey had a nice little off day on Wednesday, but he's going to be playing. Tyler Higbee had an off day, but he's going to be playing. Bobby Wagner, I think, is going back to Seattle. He will be playing in that game for sure. Miami, the big story here, looks like Skylar Thompson will be the starter for the Miami Dolphins with Teddy Bridgewater being the backup. He's currently banged up with a finger issue, also a knee problem. Armstead, the elite offensive tackle who they traded a lot for and they've given a big contract, is doubtful for this game. The Miami Dolphins can make the playoffs in multiple scenarios. But you do have the major issue with Tua Tagovailoa. We don't think Tua is returning this year, even if Miami makes the playoffs. The NFL is not going to risk him returning. I think they've just said, listen, it's not going to happen. And you also have Xavier Howard, a really elite cornerback, listed as questionable for this one. The Vikings, you've got a relatively healthy team outside of a few different backups. Zendarius Smith. Injury, not a personal matter. I'm guessing he'll play in that game, but it is a situation for Minnesota where very likely they will be the 3 seed. They need San Francisco to lose to Arizona to get the 2 seed, and that's just not going to happen. So Minnesota playing a pretty much meaningless game there. You got to wonder when they'll pull their starters against the Chicago team who is directly tanking. Moving on to New England. You have a team that has a few guys questionable, but they are in a spot like Jacoby Myers, Marcus Jones. They need all hands on deck in their game to make sure they make the playoffs. It's a very tough game at the Bills. I would imagine a lot of their players play. The New Orleans Saints dealing with a lot of injuries. Taysom Hill, I would imagine, plays. A lot of these guys probably will play. But overall for the Saints, they don't own their first round pick. Andy Dalton, we would expect getting the start in that one. The Giants are in a situation where it's completely meaningless. Their seeding will not be affected. They're at Philadelphia, listed as 14-point underdogs. You have to wonder how long Saquon Barkley plays. You have to wonder how long Daniel Jones plays. Do those guys even play? Because it is a meaningless game. The Giants are already in the playoffs and their seeding has already been determined. Moving on to the Jets, you can see a long list of injuries here. A lot of guys out. It has already been determined that Joe Flacco will be starting this game. So Mike White listed as questionable. He's either going to be out or he's going to be the backup. Joe Flacco will start for the New York Jets. I would imagine, that's an interesting matchup there. Joe Flacco versus Skylar Thompson. Moving to the Philadelphia Eagles, they need to win this game. The big story, Jalen Hurts listed as questionable. He should be playing. Also, Lane Johnson still out. It's very important Philadelphia gets that first round bye to give their elite offensive tackles some rest. So the big story there, Jalen Hurts coming back and starting. The Pittsburgh Steelers, a few guys listed as questionable. They're relatively healthy. Mika Fitzpatrick questionable, Miles Jack questionable. They are in a situation where they need 2 teams to lose and they need to win against the Browns to make the playoffs. You've got the San Francisco 49ers, no designations there. So I don't know what that's all about, but Nick Bosa injured, but not injured, just resting. Christian McCaffrey, I would imagine just maintenance. The big story here, Deebo Samuel is going to be back for this game, getting some final reps before the playoffs, maybe shaking off some of that rust. The Seattle Seahawks sitting in a position right here where they need to win and they need the Green Bay Packers to lose. They've got Tyler Lockett listed as questionable. I'm guessing he plays. Other than that, some backups listed as questionable as well. Kenneth Walker, I believe, should be playing. He has an ankle, but he does not have an injury designation. The Buccaneers, kind of an interesting story with them, with, Tom Brady. If he loses this game, I believe this would be his first losing season of his career. So a lot of people betting against that. They're betting he's going to actually be motivated to play this game and win it, even though it's meaningless for Tampa Bay. They've already won their division. They're already locked into the 4th seed, I believe. You can see Julio Jones. He's kind of been on the injury report all year. Carlton Davis is out. We will see what happens there. Vita Vea out. They are rest. You can see they're just, some of these guys, it seems more maintenance. We will see how many guys they end up playing and for how long. You've got the Titans, who have that massive game tonight. They do have a lot of guys listed as questionable. Treylon Burks, we'll have to see if he plays. NPF, a really good young offensive tackle who's had a good rookie year. Derrick Henry's going to get a ton of carries coming off the rest that he had. And then finally, the Washington Commanders, they are going to be starting Sam Howell, the rookie quarterback, the rookie, 4th round pick or 5th round pick, getting his first career start from North Carolina. Some guys out there, but it does look like Chase Young. It looks like they're playing Chase Young in this game. Jonathan Allen is out. This game is completely meaningless for the Commanders. So, guys, that is just a quick update on the injury report for NFL week number 18. We've got a lot of teams tanking, a lot of guys out, but that's going to do it for this video, guys. Make sure you follow me on Twitter. Link to that's always in the description.